The river runs red, the Tigris, one of the greatest rivers in the world, stained with blood. Bodies float alongside scrolls of books. In 7 days, they will destroy what humanity built over 7 centuries. This is not war. This is the erasure of civilization. February 1258. The Mongols enter Baghdad. Baghdad is not just a city, it's the heart of the world. 1 million people live here, more than any European city of that time. Paris, 100,000. London, 50,000. Baghdad is 10 times larger. This is where algebra was invented, where the first hospitals opened, where astronomers mapped the stars with precision. Europe won't achieve for 300 years. The House of Wisdom holds 400,000 manuscripts, the accumulated knowledge of human civilization. But the Caliph made one fatal mistake. He refused to bow to the Mongol Khan. 1257, a year before the fall, Mongol Khan, ruler of the largest empire in history, sends a message to Caliph al-Mustasim. Simple words: submit or die. The Caliph laughs. He sits in his palace surrounded by gardens, fountains, golden domes. Baghdad has walls 40 feet high. The Tigris protects one side. The army, though weakened, still numbers tens of thousands. And he has God on his side. He is the commander of the faithful, the successor of the prophet. No one would dare touch him. His advisor, a man named Ibn al-Alqami, warns him. The Mongols are not like other enemies. They don't negotiate. They don't take prisoners. They erase. The Caliph ignores him. He sends back his own message, mocking, threatening. He tells Mongol Khan that if he attacks Baghdad, the entire Islamic world will rise against him. He doesn't know that the Mongols have already destroyed 40 cities, that they've killed millions, that they view resistance not as bravery, but as an insult that must be answered with total annihilation. Mongol Khan receives the message. He doesn't get angry. He simply points at his grandson Hulagu and says one word: go. January 1258. Hulagu Khan arrives outside Baghdad with 150,000 soldiers, Mongol cavalry, Chinese siege engineers, Persian auxiliaries. This is not a raiding party. This is an execution squad. They don't attack immediately. They surround the city, cut off all roads. No one leaves. No one enters. The Caliph finally understands his mistake. He sends desperate messages to Syria, to Egypt, to every Muslim ruler in the region. Help us. The Mongols are at our gates. No one comes. Some are too far. Some are too afraid. Some secretly hope that if Baghdad falls, the Mongols will be satisfied and leave them alone. They're wrong. The siege begins. Chinese engineers build catapults, massive machines that hurl stones weighing hundreds of pounds. They don't aim at the walls. They aim over them, into the city, into homes, markets, mosques. Day and night, the stones fall. The Caliph's army tries to fight back. They sortie out of the gates. Cavalry charges, brave men on horses, swords raised, shouting prayers. The Mongol archers cut them down before they get close. Mongol bows have a range of 300 yards. They can shoot accurately while riding at full gallop. The Baghdad cavalry dies in waves. After 5 days, the walls crack. Not from battering rams, from the sheer weight of stone that's been hurled at them. Entire sections collapse. The Mongols don't rush in, they wait. February 10th. They send one final message. Surrender now and only the soldiers will die. Resist further and everyone dies. The Caliph refuses. February 13th. The Mongols enter Baghdad. What happens next is methodical. Street by street, house by house. They move through the city with terrifying efficiency. Every person they find is killed, not in rage, not in frenzy, calmly, systematically. Soldiers are separated from civilians, then executed. Civilians are separated by age and gender, then executed. The House of Wisdom is torn apart. 400,000 manuscripts, works of philosophy, mathematics, medicine, astronomy, poetry, history. The Mongols throw them into the Tigris. So many books are dumped into the river that witnesses say you could walk across the water on a bridge of paper. The ink turns the Tigris black, then the bodies turn it red. Estimates vary. Some say 80,000 died. Some say 200,000. Some say over 1 million. The truth is, no one knows, because there was no one left to count. 7 days of killing. On the 7th day, Hulagu Khan summons the Caliph. Al-Mustasim is brought before him, still wearing his robes, still believing somehow that his status will protect him. Hulagu asks him a question. Where is your treasure? The Caliph takes him to the palace vaults. Gold, jewels, centuries of wealth accumulated by the Abbasid dynasty. Hulagu looks at it, then looks at the Caliph. You valued this more than your army, more than your walls, more than your people. He orders the Caliph locked in the treasury, surrounded by his gold, and left to starve. Some sources say this is what happened. Others say the Caliph was wrapped in a carpet and trampled by horses. Mongol tradition forbids spilling royal blood on the ground. Either way, the last Abbasid Caliph dies in February 1258. With him dies the Islamic Golden Age. The fires burn for weeks. Smoke rises from a city that no longer exists. The markets where merchants from China, India, Persia, and Africa once traded, gone. The hospitals where doctors performed surgeries Europe won't learn for centuries, ashes. The gardens that took generations to cultivate, trampled into mud. But the greatest loss is invisible. The scholars are dead. The last man who knew how to calculate planetary movements with perfect accuracy, killed. The surgeons who could perform cataract surgery, killed. The mathematicians who were developing concepts that wouldn't resurface until the Renaissance, killed. Entire fields of knowledge die with them. In the House of Wisdom, there were texts that existed nowhere else on earth, translations of Greek philosophy, Persian astronomy, Indian mathematics, original works by scholars whose names are now lost forever, all gone. The Mongols don't just destroy a city, they sever the chain of human knowledge. For centuries, Islamic civilization was the bridge between ancient wisdom and the modern world. They preserved, they advanced, they innovated. Now that bridge is burning. A physician named Ibn al-Nafis lived in Baghdad. He discovered pulmonary circulation, how blood moves through the lungs, 300 years before William Harvey would be credited with the discovery in Europe. His notes burned. An astronomer named Al-Tusi created mathematical models to explain planetary motion without the errors of Ptolemy. His work wouldn't be rediscovered until Copernicus. His observatory was destroyed. Engineers who built water systems so advanced that parts of them still function today, killed. The ripple effect spreads across centuries. Without Baghdad as a center of learning, scientific progress in the Islamic world stalls. Universities close, scholars flee. The next generation never learns what the previous generation knew. Europe, still in its medieval period, loses access to the knowledge flowing from the East. The Renaissance will eventually happen, but it will be delayed. Humanity's progress is set back. 1 city, 7 days. an incalculable loss. Hulagu Khan surveys the ruins. He doesn't celebrate. He doesn't gloat. He simply moves on. Baghdad was a message. Submit, or this is your fate. The message is received. City after city surrenders without a fight. Syria, Palestine. Entire regions capitulate the moment they hear what happened to Baghdad. The Mongol advance seems unstoppable until they reach Egypt. The Mamluk Sultanate, a military state of slave soldiers, decides to fight. At the Battle of Ain Jalut in 1260, they defeat the Mongols for the first time. The tide turns, but Baghdad never recovers. The city that once held 1 million people is reduced to a village. The irrigation systems that fed Mesopotamia for millennia are destroyed. The region that was once the breadbasket of civilization becomes a backwater. For 700 years, Baghdad remains a shadow. It won't reach 1 million inhabitants again until the 20th century. Today, if you visit the banks of the Tigris in Baghdad, you can still find fragments, pieces of pottery, broken tiles. Sometimes, after heavy rains, the river washes up old bricks from buildings that stood 800 years ago. In 2003, when American forces entered Baghdad, archaeologists found something in the ruins of old buildings. Medieval manuscripts, hidden in walls, sealed in jars, buried underground. Someone, in those final days of 1258, tried to save what they could. They knew the Mongols were coming. They knew what would happen. So they took the books they could carry and hid them, hoping that someday someone would find them. Most were never recovered. The ones that were found are fragmentary, water-damaged, incomplete. Fragments of a civilization that once touched the stars. Historians estimate that 90% of all Islamic scientific and philosophical works written before 1258 are lost forever. 90%. Imagine if 90% of all human knowledge created before today suddenly vanished. Every medical breakthrough, every mathematical discovery, every work of art and literature, gone in 7 days. That's what happened to Baghdad. The city survived. It exists today. Over 7 million people live there now. But the Baghdad of 1258, the city of scholars, the center of human civilization, the place where the future was being written, that city never came back. There's a Persian saying that emerged after the fall: the ink of scholars is worth more than the blood of martyrs. The Mongols proved it true in the worst way possible. When they threw those 400,000 manuscripts into the Tigris, they didn't just destroy paper, they destroyed minds. Generations of accumulated wisdom, questions that were being asked, problems that were being solved, discoveries that were about to be made. We'll never know what humanity lost in those 7 days. We'll never know what cure for disease was written in a book that burned. What mathematical proof was scrawled in a margin that dissolved in the river? What understanding of the universe died with a scholar whose name we don't even remember? The river doesn't run red anymore. It flows past a modern city. Cars, buildings, bridges. But if you look closely at the water, especially at sunset when the light hits just right, you can still see it, the shadow of what was lost. February 1258, the night an empire burned, fade to black